Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. So I got some real good information that's very educational and very educational. It is very educational. I'm like a girl in a candy store. I don't even know where I want to start. I don't know where I want to start. But let's begin with what triggered this episode. We're going to begin with the beginning. What triggered this episode was that I was supposed to have an episode, and this is kind of setting me back by an hour. But it's worth doing. Anything that's for Donald Trump, pro Donald Trump, I'm for. I'm for the cause. So I had an interview today with a gentleman named David Feldman. He has the David Feldman Show. And he has over 30,000 or more people. You know, I congratulate him on that. And obviously, he's either independent or a Democrat. And I congratulate him on that too. But what I don't congratulate him on is piggybacking off of what everybody else is saying about the eulogy of Donald Trump. What I don't support is the fact that you didn't show up to our interview. You constantly wrote me that your link was not working. So I sent you a new link, and come to find out I did do 2 sets of virtual studios for you. Now, you took time out of my schedule. I'm about to take the time to tell the people why I didn't have a show. You had a show, which I'm about to show in a second. You had a show which talked about Donald Trump. When I researched you to wonder why you weren't showing up, you just wrote me 7 minutes ago talking about the link is not working. Well, you were supposed to be on there at 11:45. It was an hour ago. That's prejudice. So have you met Donald Trump? All my anti-Trump supporters, have you met Donald Trump? Are you authorized to predict that a man that can like anything in the world or be associated for reasons that we don't even know? We only know what the mainstream media puts out. So you can't say that there's a reason, possibly, if it's true, that Trump is affiliated with the Proud Boys. Now, stand by and stand back could mean anything. So, let's get into what he said about Donald Trump and everybody else said about Donald Trump. But for me to gain my own insight, I am not listening to what y'all guys say. I don't care about the mainstream media. I don't care about the stars who are anti-Trump talking about him. Let's get that very clear. Because you don't know why he said those things. You don't know why he is talking. And for one, you only showed certain parts. When I sat up there and I looked for the footage, which I'll show y'all in a second, there was absolutely no full footage. It was only excerpts of certain parts. If he spoke for 3 hours, why do we have 7 to 10 minutes only about different anti-Trump people disliking his footage of what he had to say? Who is hiding the 3-hour footage? This is something that came on CNN. This is something that came on broadcasting. If you don't know who Diamond is, I'm about to tell you. She's a Trump supporter that's Black. She died at 51 from heart failure. Let's see what he said. Because when he said he don't know Silk, when he sat up there and said he don't know Silk, and we know he knows Silk, excuse me for a second, you guys. Come on. Hello?
Hi, Kimberly.
This is she.
Yeah, hi, Kimberly. This is Dave Feldman. The link that you sent me isn't working.
Okay, well, can I call you right back? I'm so sorry.
Sure, whatever you want.
Okay. So, like I was saying about Diamond, he said he knows who Diamond is. And then he says he looks to the right and he says, okay, Diamond, but I don't know who Silk is. So I'm like, okay, if you don't know who Silk is, he have pictures with Silk. So he knows who Silk is. He's just joking. You see how they twist his words? He could have been looking dead at Silk saying, I don't know who Silk is, but they cut it. So let's talk about what this show did. I have so many things to show you guys. Starting with this show.
Member former President Trump on the memorial service for Diamond. So by telling Jesus's parable of the president who was promised he would only have to wait 15 minutes to speak, was forced to wait 3 hours.
He said, give me a little time. What do you think it'll take? Oh, about 15, 20 minutes. In and out. A little longer than 15 minutes, right?
That was his opening remark. He wasn't too happy having to sit through a 3-hour memorial for Diamond. He's a busy man. And so after Donald Trump cleared the air and being kept waiting, down to business and reflected on Diamond, who she was, her life, a life well lived. Ready. This is Donald Trump and Diamond.
How do we stop the TV? How do we get more votes when you still not win? And the answer is the Republicans have to get tougher. People.
Now, I want to explain something to you guys. Trump's first wife passed away. Nobody sees the pattern. They think they always point the blame on Trump, just like the January 6th, just like the impeachments, and now Diamond, and now his wife, his ex-wife. Is it starting to be clear, guys? No, it's not. So now I'm going to get into, I don't want to even explain to you guys how I feel on this tape, but watch it on your own time. It's the Dave Feldman show, and it's the first thing that populates, and he have over 20,000 people. But it gets deeper, and I might as well play another excerpt. Let's see what else he got to say.
Have to get to which even they can't produce. And so if you win enough, you're going to get there and then straighten about it and back to work.
I agree. This President Trump. It's so sad. Everybody was just weeping. I mean, I can barely.
Why is it that when people explain stuff in different speeches, like when I talk politically, or when I'm talking about my life, political stuff just spews out my mouth. Political stuff just comes out that relates to my story. You have a man that ex-wife died. You have a man that got impeached twice. You have a man that was president. You have a man that was blamed for the January 6th insurrection. And now you have a man that was associated with Elon Musk and got banned from Twitter. He got banned. Who bans the president? Who takes 200 billion away from Elon Musk projects, positive projects? Who sends $45 billion to Ukraine? In Ukraine, Zelensky fires 10 of his employees, right? For telling the news reporters that he is on vacation while people are on the front line dying.
Keep it together. Trump talked about how much the team of Diamond and Silk meant to him.
I'm serious. I thought I knew them both. I didn't. I knew Diamond, but I didn't know Silk at all. I just learned about Silk.
I just learned about Silk.
Do you see him right there? Do you see him right there, you guys? You see his head turned? Okay. He learned about Diamond, but he did not know about Silk. Who was he looking at? Who was he looking at?
Woman who was talking. That Diamond. Let's play that again.
I'm serious. I thought I knew them both. I didn't. I knew Diamond, but I didn't know Silk at all. I just learned about Silk.
You just learned about Silk. The woman who just introduced Silk, you just learned about her. You've never met her. Well, don't feel bad, Silk. There are a lot of great people Donald Trump never met. For example, Nick Fuentes, for example. He's a neo-Nazi who denies the Holocaust and talks about how white people are superior to blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and Arabs. Nick Fuentes, huge Trump supporter back in 2020.
Now, whoever this guy is, I don't care. The Trump supporter. What I care about is action. Your actions. You contacted me, David Feldman. Let's get that very straight. And please don't contact me again. You contacted me and you practically begged me to give you a show. I made the link twice. You did not come on till 45 minutes after. You said you remade your appointment. Should I get into our emails? Then when it came time to come on, you didn't show. You were 5 minutes or more late. And to me, that shows who you truly are. And to me, that's prejudice. Should I read into what you said and did to me? You made me waste my time out of my busy schedule to make your banner and research you and put your story up for people to hear. And I have no show, but I do. Because guess what? I'm talking about you. So you're getting coverage. But Trump has Black friends, and it's a problem with everything he say. They twist his words. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Who is the Proud Boys? Who is the KKK? Who is Antifa? We're going to find out that stuff today. But before we do, everybody, I want to show you a false clip of how everybody dismissed Diamond's eulogy. They only took out certain excerpts that will equal to 10 minutes worth of roasting of Donald Trump. And then they took away the whole eulogy and made it for Donald Trump. But nobody's saying how he sat there for 3 whole hours without complaining and then spoke. Nobody's talking about how on CBN they said positive stuff. Don't believe me? Let me show you the next 2 segments. I'm done with him. This is a list of everything. Everything people have said Trump. Everything. They made fun of it. They made fun of it. Look, this is Ivana Trump. This is Diamond. Humiliating, disgusting, house down, Black Trump supporters, horrific. Sweaty and confused. Disastrous eulogy. Wet and slurring. Sodomy. Horrible. Confused. But where do you see the whole eulogy at? Where do you see the whole? Even Wanda Sykes talks about him. This is crazy. They don't even show. You see what I got as the title? It says full video of Trump eulogy, of the Trump Diamond eulogy. And it's nowhere. Let me push enter and show you. I even put the whole name in. Nothing populates. Why? So that's something to think about. Look it up yourself. The 3 hour or 2 hour 45 or 3 hour 15 or 20 minutes that Trump spent at her funeral shows a lot about his dedication to Diamond. So let's look at, hold on, what Trump actually said about Diamond. And it's on a reputable place. Let me show you. I won't say what it is until it pops up. The CBN News, The Christian Perspective. Trump to attend Lynette Diamond Hardaway funeral in North Carolina. That is him. He actually wrote a message. Let's see if we can watch that.
January 8th, 2023. The world lost an angel and true friend, Lynette Diamond Hardaway. She was great. Diamond lived a life founded on her passion and love for all of humanity. The legacy she leaves behind will forever remain in our hearts. She was a really great person. Please join us on Saturday, January 21st in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She loved that state, and so do I. As we celebrate the life of Diamond. She lived it in a credible way, and we're going to have a wonderful celebration and ceremony. All of Diamond's families and Silk. We love Silk, her sister. She loved her sister so much, and they loved each other, and they really loved the world. They were with me from the beginning, and they never wavered. So we're going to celebrate. Silk will be there, but I'll be there, and we're going to celebrate the life of Diamond. see you in North Carolina. Thank you.
Just like I said, Silk is her sister, and Donald Trump was joking about not knowing who Silk was. He promoted her funeral. He let her come to the White House. He let her visit him. Don't you think if he was prejudiced, that he would not allow Black people, he would be bold about it, wouldn't you think? So is it okay if I'm African American and I know somebody, which I am African American, but if I know somebody that is a Black Panther that is against KKK members, and I go up on a political stadium and they say, well, what about you knowing John that's a Black Panther and he don't like such and such a people? What does that mean? That means that it's making me look bad, but here's the trigger. I like who I like, which is John, because of his personality. What John do outside of his box is on John. Because I'm associated or know him, I'm getting shunned. I'm sure, would God shun somebody? Would God shun somebody that is a Black Panther because their views and their political views have been engraved for decades, if not centuries? The same with the Proud Boys, the same with the KKK. It is always, we need to come together because the Proud Boys, the KKK, and the Black Lives Matter, Black Panther. What is, it is always an underlying cause within the race of why they make these organizations. But there's always a greedy man just dangling the strings in levels. And it's just sickening. People don't understand that's lower class what the true meaning behind the KKK mean. People don't understand people that is lower class that don't understand what Black Lives Matter really means. People don't understand what Eastern Stars means, what Freemasonry means. They all have meaning. As long as they're not killing nobody, which the KKK has in the past, but doesn't, very rarely do you see it done right now. And very rarely would you see it be done in the future. But right now, you rarely see it done, but what they do, it like, I always ask myself for 2 whole years, 2 years from, it's 2023, 2021, I started asking myself, what is the meaning behind the KKK? We're about to find out right now. I'm about to look up Wikipedia on the KKK, Antifa, CNN fact check, and the Black Lives Matter movement. So let's get started. I already have Antifa up. We're going to start with Antifa. But first, I'm going to show you this beautiful presentation. You already seen that. Bam. So let's exit out of this and go to Antifa. Because people knows through word of mouth. And people don't know what it truly means. I researched it. And we're going to go over it together. So, who is Antifa? Antifa is an anti-fascist left wing, which is Democrat, against racist political movement in the United States, against being racist. Let's see what anti-fascist means. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. A political movement in opposition to ideologies, groups, and individuals. It began in Europe in the 1920s during World War II. So if you have ideas, groups, or an individual, let's click on a host because we're going to break this whole thing down. Fascism. So I see a pattern. It's okay to have Antifa, which is a government far left organization, but anti-fascism, well, anti-fascism is a far right, ultra nationalistic ideology. That is so weird, right? So now you see all these groups are fighting within each other. So let's see what is tied to Antifa. So now Antifa is basically both Democrat and Republicans politicians has condemned violence, which is to try to dismiss and stop violence from Antifa. Many right-wing politicians have characterized Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. Now this I'm gonna end it there. Y'all better listen to this. What did they call them? What did they call them? What did they call them? Domestic terrorist organization. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Look it up on your own time. I'm trying to make sure everything is in order. Now let's look up the Proud Boys. So we got Antifa as a left-wing movement, as a domestic terrorist group, right? Let's look up the Proud Boys and let's look up the KKK. We're going to look up all these organizations because they must have some meaning. And Antifa goes all the way back. Antifa goes all the way back to the Nazis. History repeats itself. The Proud Boys is American far-right neo-fascist. So let's neo-fascist. What is neo-fascist? Let's see. Post after World War far-right ideology that includes elements of fascism, ultranationalism, racial supremacy, populism, authoritarianism, nativism, xenophobia, anti-immigration, liberal democracy, social democracy, liberal, social. That means that they have all the qualities within our United States, both liberal and both social. Parliamentarianism, liberalism, Marxism, neoliberalism. This sounds like a bunch of history. I remember learning about Marxism, communism, and socialism. And let's see the history. So it emerged, like I said. So all of these organizations emerged before Nazi and after Nazi. But let's see what makes it tied. What is the history? A number, hold on. This was during World War I and World War II. So basically, I can read from here. I can read from here that this project, what they did between pre-World War I and post-World War I, was after World War II. I'm sorry, after World War II, was they developed organizations, post-Nazi, pre-Nazi. Between those two times, they developed Proud Boys They developed the what was it? Proud Boys, neo-Nazi. Antifa was born in Europe, and Proud Boys was born near Europe. So you got those two, which one is a left-wing group and one is a right-wing group. So that doesn't mean that they're connected. That doesn't mean that they're connected. And there must be a reason why they have these points of views. So let's continue as we drive further into what product this is. Now, I can't confirm or deny that this is a right-wing or left-wing thing. But what I can say is that it's on paper. It's on paper, on the World Wide Web, and stating it's a far right group. Now, what happened January 6th? Whether Trump knows the Proud Boys or not, what happened? That's the truth on January 6th. That's my theory. Let's see what CNN put, and then we're going to look into one last thing, the KKK, and then Tucker Carlson. So first we're going to do the fact check. Hold on. So this states, did Antifa, which is a far left group, infiltrate Capitol rioters? Evidence, this is what Trump supporters said. Evidence growing that fascists against the views of the Republicans, Antifa orchestrated Capitol attack with clever mob control tactics, Brooks, an Alabama Republican, tweeted Thursday morning. This all have the hallmarks of Antifa provocation, Gozar, Arizona Republican, wrote Wednesday. Geist was more specific Wednesday night when he cited on the House floor in the loud boos from his Democratic colleagues an article from the Washington Times, which has since been removed from their website. The article said that facial recognition firm, you see that? You see that? This is crazy. It was just up there. Watch it pop up again. I just want to read this part. Contain compelling evidence that Antifa had infiltrated the Trump supporting rioters. Let's look up one thing while I have to look up a cameo. Domestic terrorists. Antifa. What is the definition of a domestic terrorist? So it goes back here to the FBI. Now, even though Antifa is the head of the organization that has been going around for many decades, there's branch-offs from this left-wing government organization. Like what? You ask. Like the cartel. Don't believe me, do you? They said, as you saw me read, domestic terrorists. Domestic means housed within the United States of America. So if somebody or some alien or illegal immigrant or illegal person from Europe or illegal person from Canada or illegal person from Honduras is coming in here, Aren't they considered Antifa motivated people? The police that was at the January 6th insurrection, aren't they considered Antifa organized people? Because some of those police weren't real. But some of them had to know. Some of them had to know, because think about this. They had to know that those police weren't real unless they had limited amount of police that sat in districts around the Capitol that didn't know where everybody was. They were from different districts. How is it that certain police didn't know or was paid off, or we're going to find out a lot of good stuff. No way can somebody title police right here sit in somewhere high up and nobody knows. 5 police officers committed suicide, same way. Gunshot wound to the head. Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? Let's look at what Tucker Carlson has to say. Tucker Carlson, Antifa is the armed, which means they have weapons, milita, which is, it is off, you know how they say off brand type thing? This is the off government, but government, this is synthetic. Okay, let me explain what I mean by armed militia. Armed militia is like taking, instead of taking, I have to use this as an example because it's very powerful for y'all to understand what words are being used. Armed militia, instead of U.S. government. Cocaine, Adderall. It's started from the U.S. government and it branched off. There is a war going on. If you really think that we're not fighting a war, if you really think people would send decoys in there, in schools, in colleges, on the basis to kill people, to make other people look like it's them, then you're sadly mistaken. Just because you won't think like that, don't mean other people that's in high places don't think like that. How many of your family members have been sacrificed? So let's read. Antifa is the armed military of the Democratic Party and is back in force. Why would it be back in force? Let's see what you have to say, Mr. Carlson. I need a new internet source.
Every month, we're Clarios, and our XEV batteries for EVs and hybrids are here to power your next journey. Well, to be lectured about that they just wanted a snack. A dramatic whatever happened to Antifa? Ever wonder that? The point of violence they committed, the extensive violence and the killings they committed, was to defeat Donald Trump, make the country so chaotic that voters would want to change. They Kamala Harris herself raised money to bail them out of jail. In the end, Antifa played a pivotal role in our presidential election, more so than any other organized bloc of voters. Then, the moment Joe Biden was inaugurated, Antifa seemed to disappear. Nobody asked any questions about where they went, much less about who they were, who was paying them.
Did you hear what he said? Who was paying them? Where did they come from? Why did they go after he was inaugurated? These are powerful issues. This is coming from a man that spends most of his time doing news and is at home with his family. This is sick. Where is Antifa? Who is funding Antifa? Who is writing the checks? Can y'all write them to me so I can sit up there and talk about these powerful things that the people need to know? I don't even know.
They'd serve purpose. Who Antifa was and is. Antifa is the armed instrument of the permanent Democratic establishment in Washington. Their job is to mobilize when politically necessary. Now, this is a new thing. Militia are a common feature in third world politics. They are a staple in Haiti. In our country, however, the Democratic Party. They're the only ones with armed militia in the street. So with that in mind, it's interesting to note that Antifa is back in action. And that's probably not a very good sign for Joe Biden. If nothing else, Antifa has a solid track record of getting rid of sitting presidents. Here's a report from Fox 5 in Atlanta over the weekend.
Police arrested 6 people in the violent protest that left several buildings damaged and a police car destroyed after it was set on fire. Downtown Atlanta erupted into a scene of chaos Saturday night as a protest took a violent turn. At least 3 buildings were damaged when rioters threw rocks, shattering windows. At least 2 police cars were targeted. 1 even lit fire. Atlanta police say within 2 blocks of the protesters starting their destruction.
Doesn't that mean kind of like defund the police? We actually are the police. We do what we want to do, even though we're arrested. Nothing is going to happen to us, to my police people. Why burn? Like, that irritates me. And I'm not even there. Why burn and break private property? A house is like a body. That's private property. Private property. A car, you cut somebody's tire or put a nail in somebody's tire. Private property. You're touching a part of them. And not only that, it's government private property.
They dispersed the crowd. 6 people were arrested. All of them are facing 8 charges, including.
Look at that. Look at their faces, yo.
Domestic terrorism and arson. Only 1 is a Georgia resident.
Unleash the as always a.
I have one more thing to say. A veteran who was at a January 6th insurrection, who was a Trump supporter, did nothing wrong, got arrested, and sent to a mental hospital indefinitely. Caucasian, white woman, young, veteran, didn't do nothing, but she got arrested in the crowd. She didn't know. Some people didn't know that was going to happen January 6th. They were just there to support Trump. Oh, she got arrested. But what do you think is going to happen? Almost 1 million people by the White House, black African Americans, manipulated and mind controlled to destroy a part of us, whether good, bad, or superb, or ugly. You don't want your children to know the history of a man named Donald Trump becoming president of the United States because he's supposedly prejudiced. So you're the one, this is what I don't get. Black people that don't like Trump and white people that don't like Trump. You're steady spewing out negativity about Trump. You haven't heard him say, Proud Boys, make sure you stand against all those other races because we're superior. You don't hear him saying I'm superior. All you heard him say was stand by and stand down and stand by. He didn't direct any of those people to violate the Capitol. Who directed the Black people to violate the Capitol and burn it? They literally burnt the parts of the Capitol, not the Capitol, but certain parts of the whole infrastructure, certain like 10% to 20% of the infrastructure of the White House, the information center, or some part of the building on their property. What gives y'all the right to do that? Y'all haven't even done your research. You're just listening to somebody telling you that he's racist. Look it up. He can like whoever he wants. That doesn't mean he's promoting death. So we got one last thing. We're gonna let this ride out, and then we're gonna look up one last thing.
Pretext for this. There's always a story they tell you to pretend it's spontaneous. It just happened. This got back. They flew in from all over the country to stage a riot. Now, the story behind this riot, the one you're seeing on TV, is that a guy called Tortuguita, apparently an Antifa environmentalist, a person who uses they, it as pronouns, decided to shoot a state trooper in Georgia, and then the cops shot back and killed it in response. So that's the story they're telling to explain the riots. It doesn't make a lot of sense, actually, but everyone in the media is running with this, CNN included and especially. CNN, in fact, turned to a freelance reporter called David Peisner to explain exactly what happened this weekend in Atlanta. Watch this.
There's a real blurring of the lines in the use of the word violence. Is property destruction violence? To some people, it certainly is. But, this idea that breaking windows or other acts of property destruction are the same as actual violence against humans it's kind of a dangerous and slippery concept. We keep using these words violent, and it gives the impression, the only violence or the only acts of violence against people that I saw were actually police tackling protesters.
Why does every neoliberal talk like a sociology professor at a community college? You ever notice that? So that's David Peisner, identified by CNN as a freelance journalist, explaining that actually it's not really violence because it's against property. So when they burn your house down, it's not violence. It's not violence. It's always the same script. Remember when Ali Velshi stood in front of a burning police station in Minneapolis and told you the protests were, quote, not generally speaking unruly, except for, of course, the Torch police station right behind us. Or when CNN told us the riots were fire mostly peaceful. Meanwhile, people were being killed. They're still saying it. This time, they're even lazier and more corrupt. That freelance reporter, David Peisner, you just saw on CNN, is not actually a reporter. He's a professional Antifa apologist. He is a fellow traveler for Antifa. And we're not just guessing at that. This week, he went on Twitter to raise money for Antifa, including a GoFundMe for Tortuguita, the attempted cop killer with confusing pronouns. That's the guy sent this reporter, freelance reporter. The question is not, is CNN they'll say anything. The question is why this particular brand of dishonesty. Why the same people who warned you about extremists walking around the Capitol running cover for domestic terrorism in the city they're based in. Keep in mind, this is CNN saying this, and it's CNN whose headquarters is in Atlanta was destroyed by Antifa in May of 2020 after St. George Floyd died. Remember that?
You know, CNN is being threatened. CNN is being threatened. It shows. And during the time George Floyd died, that was during the time that Trump was not president no more and Biden was inaugurated. Do you see what happened? And now all CNN do now and can only do, I'm the one that talk about it. And you can't confirm or you can't deny it, but I have common sense. If all you do is talk junk about Trump now, if all you do is talk misinformation, not saying your company is misinformation, but you basically downgrade everything Trump does. You got people like Erica Marsh, who said called Trump a pervert. You got people, men, who's degrading Marjorie Taylor Greene. And they get like over 300K likes. But y'all don't even know the real story on George Floyd. But before I tell you that story and end with Tucker's last comments, you know, I was watching a clip with Donald Trump Jr. and lightning, verifiable by Donald Trump Jr. and a lot of news people. Lightning struck George Floyd plaque. His brick building was struck so severe that it destroyed his face by lightning. That is a natural event, right? Now let's get into what George Floyd did from what I've seen on the camera, from what he did that I remember in the past. Let's talk about his past to his present. During the time he was on a drug rage craze, he robbed a woman that was Black and pregnant. Whether the race, it doesn't matter, but I'm just throwing that in there for my Black women that wants to be pro George Floyd. This clown robbed a pregnant woman. Now, how did he do this? He took a gun and he stuck it to her belly. Then his friends beat her husband and took all their stuff. Right? That's our George Floyd. Woohoo! George Floyd, he Black. That's who we represent. That's what the Democrats want us to represent. Instead of fight back and speak the truth. He deserved it. Whether the cop was white, Black, Hispanic, I don't care. That wasn't the situation. You had this madman paying counterfeit dollars in a store. He dropped his crack on the ground. He wouldn't get in the car. All he had to do was get in the car. Why are y'all dismissing that he had a chance to get in the car? He ran. He started being jittery. He was on drugs. Those are the facts with George Floyd. Now I could see if he was Johnny Cochran, a prestigious lawyer from California that passed away, RIP, and then he died, or an inspiring person on a straight, a cop, or somebody special. They taped it and nobody cared because all they cared about was seeing white and black. Nobody knows his history or what he gotten away with. If he's that crazy to rob, this is what I say about my brother. And then I'm going to end with what Tucker said. If he is, this is what we know he's done. We know he put a gun up to a pregnant woman's belly. We know his friends beat the senseless crap out of her husband. What don't we know he did for drugs that only certain police and certain FBI people know? He could have killed. My brother said he's killed. What do you think he's done? Killers sometimes leave their victims alive. Some people are lucky, and some people don't get as lucky. There are some murders that never get solved. And that's the filth we wanted on our streets.
In case you don't, here's the tape.
Look at that. Look at that, y'all. Time up.
So that day,
Time
in May
up
of
for
2020,
what?
Antifa actually got inside CNN Center. They smashed through the windows and went right in. So if you're CNN, you'd say, well, look, we're going to have to put Antifa on the do not promote list. We just can't run cover for the people who smashed the windows of our world headquarters. But they are. They're doing it anyway. Why are they doing that? Because CNN is not actually on the left. They have no ideology or beliefs. CNN is above all and always foursquare on the side of the people in charge. Always. That's who they run cover for. So they're not actually defending Antifa. They're defending the people who benefit from Antifa. And that's the Democratic Party. And in case you doubt the connection, consider Representative Catherine Clark of Massachusetts, she, her. Catherine Clark is one of the most senior Democrats in the House of Representatives. In fact, she's the minority whip. She's the one who was so worried about climate change. Remember, she told you that her kids are having nightmares about it? Didn't stop her from buying $1 million oceanfront home, but whatever. So Catherine Clark's own son, Jared Dowell, was riding along with Antifa in Boston on Saturday night. He was vandalizing a monument on Boston Common when police tried to arrest him. Jared Dowell and other protesters then assaulted the police, causing the specific officer to bleed from the nose and mouth. Oh, that was her son. So Catherine Clark was forced to
No Cop City. That says no Cop City.
Personal lives of the people who run the Democratic Party are actually like, you would understand their politics. So Catherine refers to her as her, quote, daughter, of course, and wrote that, quote, this is a very difficult time in the cycle of joy and pain in parenting. It's just, part of the cycle where your adult son pretends to be a woman and attacks police officers. Totally normal. It's just part of the cycle of parenting. Yeah. Again, if you knew the details of their personal lives, you would understand their politics. This is the party of weak men and unhappy women. But what you have in effect is the official domestic terrorism from the highest level of the Democratic Party. And why wouldn't you? Again, this is their militia. These are their state-sanctioned shock troops, and they are effectively immune from criticism. So you go to jail for owning a 10-round magazine, they get to do whatever they want. Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray, who runs the FBI, are making certain that every last January 6th defendant spends years in jail. Their lives are destroyed on the no-fly list. And yet Antifa terrorists get released almost as soon as they're arrested. This weekend in Atlanta, the police arrested the 22-year-old son of a surgeon in Kennebunkport, Maine, called Francis Carroll. Now, in case you're wondering who these people are, well, they come from the key Democratic demographic, which of course is not people of color, working people. That's nonsense. The key Democratic demographic is upscale professionals and their lunatic children. So this kid grew up in a $2 million mansion, pictures of him on his father's yacht. He was arrested on domestic terrorism charges a month ago in Atlanta. He assaulted police officers and terrorized residents. Is he still there? No, he got out of jail immediately. So then apparently he went again to an Antifa riot. This weekend in Atlanta, police say Carol went out and committed some more.
You heard what he said? He said an Antifa riot. Now, we have rallies, they're called Trump rallies, MAGA rallies. But to sign up your life to go to an Antifa against fascism and against different things and cause destruction. I can see him on the phone right now. All them people that they name. Dude, I'm about to go to this Antifa rally. Where is it at? It's in Boston, dude. We're going to smash a whole bunch of stuff. What are you getting out of that? Unless, let's go to part 2 of that. I'm getting paid. How are you getting paid? I can't talk about that. You'll get $500 to destroy personal property. Well, what is it about? Don't ask questions. Just take the $500 and destroy property. Or just take the drugs and destroy the property. The next person that is verifying to the person that gets the $500 that told him not to say nothing, he's talking to the other higher up guy. Take the $5,000. Well, I'm not asking no questions. He's talking to the next boss up. I'm not asking no questions. You know what it's about. We are to never speak. Again, speak in code and pretend like you don't know nothing. That's just my theory. The higher it gets, the more dumb they play. But it shows within their children what they're really about and how their negativity, y'all have y'all children. Y'all have y'all children. I would kill to have my children again. Y'all have y'all children and y'all effed up their lives with your effed up ethics and politics. Look at what's happening. People are going on Antifa destruction riots.
Or domestic terrorism, including arson. So why does this kid, the rich kid, get off when the people who showed up at the Capitol, consistent with their constitutional rights to complain about what really did seem like fraud in the 2020 election, they went to jail? Well, have you ever checked the percentage of January 6th defendants who've experienced a personal bankruptcy? Much higher than average. These were actual working class people, deeply frustrated, completely out of options, and unheard by everyone in Washington. It's not an excuse for the vandalism some of them committed, but it tells you it's a very different group of people. They didn't go to Middlebury or some other liberal arts madrasa. They're actual working people. But they're in jail and the rich kids are out. Is anyone going to ask Merrick Garland to explain that? Is anyone going to ask what it is? Who leads this group? How many more riots do they have to lead before the New York?
You know what's funny? I'll leave it at this. The guy who got out for going to Antifa destruction, that is the governor or whoever she is, she's government affiliated son, that called daughter, you're still messing up your children. To all those Democrats out there, you're still messing up your children by allowing them from Hunter Biden on down to this clown to get away with bad things, should I say, in a PG-13 stance. To get away with bad things and to not be called accountable, held accountable by a judge or a police or the FBI or the CIA or any other government organization is completely a sin. The rest of us get held accountable, even when we're not wrong or right. No, when we're not wrong. So how is it that He's destructing purposefully, openly, doing negative things, and you're keeping your clown son out of jail. He deserves to go in jail to see what every other citizen have to go through when they get pulled over, searched, and seized. Thank you. I ended there.